Hey everyone, Phanie here, and we're trying an experiment. We are going for an evening stroll. I shared with you in other videos that when I tried to film outdoors using a chest mount for a run, that the footage was really bouncy and all over the place. So yeah, we're just gonna try a walk today and see what comes up. So if you are viewing this footage, or viewing this video, I guess, yay, things worked out okay. And if, well, I guess you wouldn't know if you're not seeing this because, well, how would you know? But it's, I'll say, an oddly beautiful night. We're mid-August, which is really kind of the hottest time of year here. And today has been so mild, a little bit gloomy and overcast. But even this time of year, on days that aren't sunny, it's usually extremely humid and hot anyway. So the fact that today has been so mild is wonderful, and it makes this kind of evening walk especially lovely because the air is not so thick, and it almost gives me a bit of an autumnal vibe, which is thrilling for me because fall is my favorite time of year. At least here where I live, where we have 4 distinct seasons. If sound quality is going well, hope you can hear the amazing evening sounds. Having this evening walk is great. Tomorrow I'll be doing a 7-mile run. Obviously that's longer than a 45-minute workout. At least for me it is. There might be some fast people who would be able to run 7 miles in 45 minutes. I certainly cannot. But as part of my marathon training, I have to do longer runs on the weekend, and so often those workouts go longer than the minimum required 45 minutes. So having a stroll tonight allows me to get in a second workout without wiping myself out and depleting myself before tomorrow's run. So glad for that. And as I said before, it's just such a nice night. We even have an airplane. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it. I'm having weird, I don't know what the right word is, not throwback, but like the last and only time I wore this chest harness was when I was running last weekend. And so it feels very weird for me to be walking. I feel like I should be running because I have this on. which I guess is maybe the word I'm looking for is just association. I have a strange association. It's like, oh, I have my harness on. I should be running. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's the feeling that I have. It'll be interesting to see how this footage turns out too at night. It's not completely dark, but it certainly is not all that light either. I guess where I am right now, there's a decent amount of street lights and building lights, but I imagine there'll be some stretches where things are not so bright. I'm not sure if any of y'all are Pelotoners. I don't even know if Peloton's still cool. I still think it's cool. But Peloton has these outdoor walks and outdoor runs where you're guided by one of the coaches for, walks, runs, whatever. I don't know if they do hikes. I guess that would just be a walk. But I somehow oddly feel like a Peloton coach. Like in my mind right now, I'm Rebecca Kennedy.
No.
With those guided Peloton outdoor sessions, I guess I've always believed that the coaches were actually outside walking or running, but I have wondered, like it wouldn't be that hard to just sit in a studio and record it. So hopefully they're real. Feeling like they're real makes me feel more motivated when I'm doing them. And I am indeed here walking for real. Although I suppose if this video works out, you can see that. With the Peloton ones, for those who aren't familiar, it's just audio. There's no video guidance for those outdoor ones. Although that would be interesting. I think at least the US-based instructors are in New York, so it would be kind of cool. Although I guess if you're like watching people run through New York, you're probably kind of distracted from doing your own running. And I guess that's a good point for this recording. If you're actually out for a walk with me on this, which I probably should have said at the beginning, hey, get your shoes on, let's go for a walk. But if you're actually walking, hopefully you're not just watching the video. Hopefully you're actually also watching your surroundings and staying safe. I don't want anybody to trip or walk out in front of a car or anything like that. That's the other thing that's too bad about that lost footage I got from the the trail run. I tripped so many times, and I think it would have been really interesting to see that footage. I mean, the footage exists, but it would be interesting to be able to sit down and watch it to see what that actually looks like. But it's just so bumpy that I couldn't even sit down and watch through it. I had to scroll to the parts that weren't bumpy to avoid feeling nauseous. The true bummer is that that run was on my favorite stretch of trail. Some of the most beautiful scenery near where I live, and maybe even in the state. So the fact that I couldn't really share it was really disappointing. But perhaps I'll recreate it walking if this walk experiment tonight turns out well. I'll also be interested to see what it looks like when there is a bright street light on camera versus when there's no light and everywhere in between. Lots of fun experimentation happening. I feel like more and more people where I live have been digging the year-round trim lights. Are you a kitty cat? Meow meow. Hi, kitty. Hello. It's okay. Earlier in the summer, I went camping at a state park and I hiked every day. And typically, the pathway alongside, or the pathway, I should say, around the island where I was hiking is about 6.5 miles. And so I would walk that each morning. And it takes about 2 hours, depending on how much I linger in certain spots versus keep going. But I had the most magical moment where and sometimes I would hike by myself, sometimes I would hike with my partner. This happened to be a morning when I was hiking by myself. And in the brush to my left, I heard this rustling. And so I, of course, looked in that direction and I saw this kind of like, fluffy looking sort of tail. Maybe not fluffy, but a furry tail. That's the right word. And I kind of froze because I needed to clock what this thing was. And it heard me too. And it stopped and looked at me. And the two of us just sat there gazing at each other for several moments. And in the moment, I didn't know what it was. I knew it wasn't a fox. The way I described it to my friends was either a small wolf or a coyote. But I don't really actually know exactly what either of those things look like, besides what I've seen in pictures or film, because, I've never encountered them in real life before. I didn't know whether I should be afraid of this beautiful creature. I definitely felt hesitant, let's say, and I certainly imagine that it probably thought that it could or should be afraid of me. Humans are relatively destructive and dangerous, after all, when it comes to wildlife. But as I sat staring at this, what I now have decided I'm pretty sure is a coyote, I simply tried to send it love from my heart, letting it know that I wouldn't harm it. Stayed very still and tried to drop my gaze so that I wasn't staring at it so directly. I didn't want it to feel that I was menacing it or challenging it. And after some time, it trotted off into the woods. And thank goodness, because I didn't want it to come near me, that's for sure. But I'm so grateful for that moment. It was just so cool to be in close proximity to and to share space with a creature like that. And of course, there's wildlife around us all the time. Birds, squirrels, rabbits, at least where I live. Sometimes raccoons and possums. And of course, bugs. But yeah, seeing something like that up close and personal is not common. And it was really cool. assuming the sound is working for this, it'll be so much better also than the other recording when I was running, because I was breathing so heavily, and the sound quality could definitely show how heavily I was breathing, which I guess is authentic. And it's so funny because in one of the pieces of the video, I'm like, I bet this video might turn out like shit, but I'm gonna post it anyway. Of course I did not post it because it was so bad. I mean, if it hadn't been so bumpy, even if the sound quality was bad and it was me like huffing and puffing the whole time, I would have still posted it. But with the video as jacked up as it was, I don't want to make anybody sick. It'll be interesting to see if I have sidewalk here. Oh, yes, I do. Good. Ooh. That's an update. I also am just remembering the other hilarious thing. I need to stop talking about that other video, but there were so many hilarious things about it because I was running. My little hook hands, my little paws, and I can even like demonstrate, like kept like like coming into the video. So it was just like bumpy as heck with like hands, like, you know, imagine like, you know, you're sitting there and somebody takes their hands and like kind of alternates them quickly on either side of your eye. I mean, it's already bad because of the bumpiness, and then that on top of it was just too much. But I guess I gotta learn somehow. Besides a phone, this is actually the first time in my life I've ever had a video camera of sorts. Like even back in my childhood, I feel like growing up in the 80s and 90s, most of the kids where I grew up, their families had some sort of camcorder. and there would be some sort of home videos that were created. But that wasn't my family. I think part of it was those were kind of expensive. And also it was just like, I guess my parents weren't that techie or that curious about those kinds of things. I think maybe eventually someday, one day after I moved out, they got something like that. But then, you know, before too long, you know, bump into the 2000s and suddenly there's, well, I guess not immediately in the 2000s, but, you know, by the 2010s, there's smartphones. And so everybody's got their own version of a camcorder now. But yeah, it's like a big deal for me. It's exciting to have this fancy equipment. I should use quotes when I say fancy equipment, because it's not like my setup's that fancy. The majority of the filming that you see from me is all on my phone. And the only other video besides this one that I've ever even tried to use this camera for was the one that I shall no longer mention because I've talked about it too much. But I'm excited to have a camera to help me capture moving footage, action footage, hopefully fitness related footage. And for everything else, well, keep using the iPhone. Oh, look at this. Oh, I don't know if I caught him, but maybe we'll see here. I don't want to scare him too much, but we got a little toad friend. I don't know if he's going to move, and I don't want to bother him. If I see any others, I'll try to crouch down before I scare them off. I just looked down at the camera on my chest and realized that it was actually facing up quite a bit. So I have no idea how much has actually been visible of what I've been walking past so far. For all I know, maybe you've been looking up my nostrils the whole time. I mean, I don't think you're looking at my nostrils because I don't think it was that extremely pointed upward. But definitely seems like it may be facing more forward now. And where I am currently is somewhat dark, so again, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, and then how the transition to this area up here with light will be. Definitely just walked through some spider webs, which is a unique sensation. Huh. Somebody left their chair here. What's up with that? I was just thinking to myself, I wish that time when I was walking was time that just stood still. Like, for example, if I went for a 1-hour walk, I wish that that didn't count as any time off of my day. Walking is one of my favorite things, and I love just walking for hours, but it's like, who actually has time to do that? I mean, some people do, so that's like an unfair question. There are some people who have lots of time to just walk for hours, and I think, for me, many days, most days, I can probably carve out an hour for a walk. Of course, when I'm doing 75 hard challenge, I have to carve out 2 45-minute chunks, but I would just love if I could walk for hours, but that didn't count against my time of day. It's just something that's so joyful and soothing, and I love walking alone. I love walking with people, and it just takes a long time. And amidst the chaos of daily life, sometimes it feels tough to justify that. And I guess a part of me used to feel that walking wasn't really a workout. It was more just like something that I did. So if I had to choose between walking and doing what I would have considered a real workout, I would have done the real workout. The run, the HIIT, the cardio, the weights, whatever. And while those things bring me joy too, it's so different from a walk. I don't know. I just love it. And unless the weather is extreme, like extreme heat and humidity or extreme cold, I don't get exhausted walking either. Like, I feel like I could just walk forever. Whereas running or other things, I definitely get tired. I think when I started, you probably could see this video stuff decently, but my guess, we have another toad. Don't know if you can see him or not, but hi, friend. This time of year, there's some big ones. Not the little tiny, like, thumbnail-sized ones that I see in the spring. Yeah, I was blathering about the light. I feel like when I left, there was just enough light on the horizon that you could probably see some stuff. At this point, I'm not confident how much you'll even be able to see. Maybe I'll say the same thing I said. Oh, remember, we're not talking about that anymore. Seen one dog walker so far, but I guess the dog walkers are already in for the night, maybe. Or maybe I caught the tail end of the early dog walkers and haven't yet hit the late night dog walkers. Sadly, no stars visible. As I said before, it's been kind of a hazy and overcast day, so I'm guessing there's just too much cloud cover right now. But even though I live in a city, it's small, so not too much light pollution. You can usually see some pretty epic skies when it's clear. And I guess if this kind of filming works, I'll probably do more of these. I kind of like the idea of doing a walk and talk. I mean, obviously there's something to be said for me to just go for a walk by myself and just be quiet and think for myself, connect with myself, but yeah, it's kind of fun to do this too. At least I'm having fun. Who knows if y'all will like it. And who cares, actually, since I'm pretty much doing it for me. But if other people like it and benefit, well, all the better. Excuse me. I just came up with an interesting concept. What if I were wearing a headlamp? Would that, I mean, I guess we don't know how this footage is going to turn out. Oh man, I so wish that there was more light. This is one of my favorite yards in town because it has the most beautiful flowers. So we'll just have to see them in the dim light. There's some really beautiful yards in this community. But anyway, A, let's hope that this video turns out awesome. And B, if it does not, I'll have to experiment with wearing a headlamp and see how that affects visibility. Over here is one of my favorite yards too, with their skeletons. And I love that they have them out year round. I have a skull. I guess I'm turning my head, but not turning my body. So let me turn my body. Hopefully you can see that. But I have a skull in my kitchen year round. Sometimes I think people think that I just haven't taken my Halloween decorations down, but the reality is I don't decorate for Halloween I just always have a skull and crows and spiders and creepy art in my kitchen. It's Hell's Kitchen, but not Hell, Hel, like Norse mythology hell. There's some other so beautiful flowers. Hibiscuses, I think. The yards that are beautiful here, I call the fairy yards. And they're not necessarily the most like carefully curated yards, like the ones that have really nice landscaping or whatever. Like for me, those are actually kind of boring. I like the ones that have a lot of wildflowers or that just kind of seem to have things haphazardly placed. I love the randomness. And I call them fairy yards because it's like if there are fairies, like for real, they definitely would live in this kind of yard. I mean, obviously they probably live in like the wilderness, but if they're living in towns and cities, definitely in those kinds of yards, right? And this is not specifically a fairy yard, but it's the library's little garden, and I love it too, because even though it is kind of curated, and by that I guess I just mean well cared for, it is sort of random, organic, asymmetrical, and unique.